So biodiversity in action, this is the case study for Duxford Parish Council. We started some years ago. We had been doing it, but not with a name, if you like. And then Ian joined the council, who is really big into biodiversity, and he's wrote the biodiversity strategy, which we used a template that was provided by county or South Cambs. I'm not absolutely sure of that. I'll probably find out in this presentation later. I'm sorry, my voice is a bit croaky. I will be coughing a little bit because I've had a cold, but I'm better now. I just can't get rid of this frog in my throat. What we realized very early on is you have to be ambitious, but you also have to be realistic. It is difficult to know where to start, especially if you're starting from scratch. But if you start small and find things that you can do, and then you can put them together and create your strategy, and you will see what works and what doesn't quite quickly. You do get better at fundraising. There's a lot of money out there for green grants, and you need to bring people with you. We're very lucky in Duxford. We've got 3-4 businesses that are very keen on biodiversity. They've all got biodiversity managers, and we've liaised with them. We've liaised with obviously Friends of Duxford Green Spaces, because it's not all the same people that are in it, but there are a lot of overlaps. And we've had nature festivals and things like that. But we have brought the parishioners with us, and people have seen results which they're very happy with. Volunteers, Ian says, build a merry tribe of helpers. A lot of early projects need volunteer, a lot of projects need volunteer labour. It's easy to try to build a merry band of helpers. Sometimes it's quite difficult, as we all know, to get a lot of helpers. Ian's been very successful on the allotments. There's a slide on that later. I found it quite difficult for Brewery Field, the community green space. I have a very small core of volunteers, but they're very keen. I've had help from some of the businesses for volunteers. SMT, who used to be Volvo, they have a business on the A505 just before you leave Duxford. And they usually give us people at least twice a year for either a full day or a half day. So it's always worth asking businesses that are local. SCDC have been incredibly helpful. They're very helpful finding funding for us if we're struggling with that. And there are a lot of tools out there to find funding that match your projects now. Action Funder is one of them, and CCF, the Cambridgeshire Community Foundation, I think, also will help look for funding. We have not managed to build a very good network with adjacent parish councils, but this project is helping with that tremendously. Some projects are zero cost. No Mow May is one of them. No Mow May we've experienced for and against on No Mow May. It's a great thing to start off with, but really it needs to be expanded into later than May, because we experienced the mowers coming in March and April, leaving it for May, but then coming in at the beginning of June again. So although you are getting a month with no cutting, it's not really helping the pollinators that much, I've found. So we have now asked our contractors to leave wide verges uncut for the summer. So they mow them in April, and then we ask them to leave them uncut May, June and July, and maybe August too. It depends on the weather. But if it's a wide verge, we get the 1 metre by the curb cut to make it still look cared for, which keeps the tidy people happy to a certain extent. The areas within the village, like the War Memorial, the green, we cut over the summer because these are areas which make the village look good, and usually the residents want those areas cut. It's one thing you have to decide on your own parish on a case-by-case basis, I would say. And some residents are really on board with letting the wildflowers grow, others not so. So the best solution we've found is to let some of the verge grow and cut an area of it so it looks cared for, but you are leaving a wildflower zone for the pollinators. Everybody's got an opinion on it, and it's worth discussing it, especially if you have coffee mornings or get-togethers with your volunteers. Hedges are one of the most amazing things you can do for wildlife. I didn't know until recently that turtle doves will only nest in a hedge that's about 3 meters wide, and turtle doves are pretty rare. So we are allowing our hedges to grow where we can. Obviously, you've got issues where there are pavements and line of sight, but where we can, we are letting the hedges grow taller and wider. The contractors are not so keen, of course, because it means they need longer ladders and longer tools, but it is a real win for wildlife. And we don't allow our contractors to cut the hedge even around the recreation ground, March to August inclusive, because of the bird nesting season. And we ask them to leave the berries and the ivy that's seeding, which is one of the late pollinating plants, into winter if they can. But of course, we do need to cut where there's safety issues, where there's line of sight, where brambles are encroaching onto pavements. There's all these things to consider. Excuse me. Hedges that are allowed to grow like this are amazing. They look wonderful. They have loads of berries and they are full of birds. We have them on Brewery Field. And yes, we will at some time have to cut them a bit in the future, but it will be section by section. So we might cut a section of 3 meters one year, leave the rest to grow, cut another section of 3 meters another year. It's a good way of managing wide hedges. Gardens. Now we started off the wildlife garden project at the first Festival of Nature, which was not last year, it was about 2021, I think. It's the cheapest, quickest and most effective way to get wildlife corridors. If you can get gardens that join up, then you will have the most amazing wildlife areas. This picture, I think, is Ian's garden last summer. And gardens play a key role. We have I will just show you this. This is the next slide, Duxford Nature Networks. I wonder if I can just increase, that's better. This is it's my, because I drew the map on Parish Online. Thank you very much. It's really made such a difference. It looks much more professional now. I was doing it on printed sheets and colouring in with highlighters. So this is just amazing. This is Duxford. These are ready-made, if you like, wildlife corridors. This is the railway line and this is the river. So I've put them in as green. And the idea, the big areas, this is Brewery Field, this is the allotment gardens. The other areas are privately owned. The recreation ground should be in green as well, because although it has a lot of manicured areas, we have certain wildlife areas on it. For people to add their own garden to this map, we ask them to do a number of things. And this is my Friends of Duxford Green Spaces network website. And this is the page for Duxford Nature Network. Have you signed up your garden? And we have information here. We have some nice pictures. and advice of what you need to make your garden wildlife friendly. So we've got water, we've got food, we've got habitat and shelter, management of your garden. And there's information, there's also link to information from the Wildlife Trust. And we don't say they can only sign their garden up if to get back to, how do I get rid of that box? Can you see that box? I'm trying to get one of my clips. Okay. Yeah. We don't say you can only put your garden on the map if you do every single one of those things. That wouldn't be fair, and a lot of them might not be able to. One won't have a hole in the fence, for instance, because they have a small dog or a cat and they don't want them to get out. One won't says, well, I can't have a pond because I've got children. So we say, as long as you are doing a lot of those things, you can put your garden on the map. And in Parish Online, I am actually annotating what they've ticked when they sign their gardens up. So I'm keeping a database of who's got what, even though it's not necessarily visible on the map. We've got 42 at the moment, and we hope to have a lot more soon. I need to be a little bit more proactive getting people to sign up now. Nature festivals, we've had two. Here we are, May 2023 and September 24. I thought, yeah, that's probably right. We would like to have another one, of course. They both were very successful. Pippa supported them, our MP, very, very well. And we were incredibly lucky with the weather on both days, which helps, of course. But nature festivals, as any village event, take a lot of work and a lot of effort. So I'm sure we will have another one at some point, but whether it'll be next year or what date it might be, I'm sorry. That is to be decided. We got the school involved, and this is one thing that I think is very important. The youngsters can be in danger of losing contact with nature, but also if you get your youngsters involved and start teaching them all the good stuff and how to get your wildlife garden friendly, then they go home and badger the parents, which is a win-win situation because it becomes a circular way of just improving biodiversity. We've got two counsellors, Ian and Heather, who liaise with the school. And the school has their own eco group and garden group. And Ian and Heather did a river day. They came out in small groups. It's a primary school. And went to the chalk stream, and it's a tributary of the Banter, I think, and counted river fly, which are tiny little insects within the river. They loved it. They said it was the best thing that had happened that summer. The Allotment Biodiversity Project was led by Ian, and he applied for a grant. It was a community chest grant, and the parish council match funded it. And with that money, I think it was that 50%? No, I think they had about 4,000 in the end. But you can see in here, he planted 70 trees that we had a lot of volunteers helping that day because the allotmenteers were all benefiting as well. They created a very large section of dry hedge, which has since been expanded hugely around the allotments because the allotmenteers have realised that it's a really good way of getting rid of all the twigs and things that they normally had to either burn or take to the tip. They installed bird boxes, planted bulbs, and lots of hedge plants. The volunteers were amazing. They spent a lot of time doing this. These pictures show this is the dry hedge before anything was fitted into it. And on this one, you can see a dry hedge here, which has everything in it already. So, gosh, I keep getting that silly. Ian also was very successful in applying for a £10,000 grant from the Rural England Prosperity Fund. And with this, we planted, I have to say, Ian did most of the work with his family, but we planted 160 beeches, 400 holly, and 2,000 bulbs, mostly native daffodils and English bluebells. The hedge species will attract butterflies, and they were all chosen especially to support biodiversity. We then had the driest summer ever, I think, and there was a lot of watering to be done. It's one thing that you have to consider if you are going to plant trees, shrubs, especially reasonable, well, actually even the whips, they all need watering if it's dry. And large trees need a lot of water. Even if they've been planted with a root ball, they will not survive a dry summer after moving for the first year at least. And really you need to keep watering them. We've realised on Brewery Field for about 3 or 4 years minimum. Our trees are now surviving on Brewery Field quite well, the large ones, without any further intervention. These are our longer ambition and our strategic objectives. We want to really make the wildlife corridors, so link the gardens, link the green spaces. We have 2 protected road verges, which have been very poorly managed in the past. We're now liaising with highways who are still responsible for mowing them. They knew the correct way to mow them, but the contractors that they employed weren't mowing them correctly. These are now being properly monitored, and we're hoping that we will recover some of the rare plants. Some have been lost, but there are still a number in the verges. It's very worthwhile getting an ecologist involved. We're very lucky to have an ecologist involved with this project particularly. Her name is Grace, and she is monitoring the verges for us and coming up with a plan for all our public green spaces. Our village roadside verges, we are mowing much better now. We're not mowing the wide ones in the summer, and we're trying to get them to mow much later towards the autumn. We do try to liaise with the contractors so that we can get a survey, so that we can survey before they cut in the autumn, because then we can really monitor how many new species and good pollinating plants we've got on the verges. I think getting experts involved to monitor and do biodiversity surveys is worth it. And most local ecologists are very keen to help. I also have Ashley in Whittlesford, who helped me tremendously on Brewery Field and still does the biodiversity surveys for me on there. We want to move from 42 gardens to 150 gardens, and we want to enhance the local river. We have a very beautiful chalk stream running along the side of Duxford near the railway line. We've planted a lot of new hedges. We probably aren't applying for any free hedging plants this year. We have done that every year, but we're running out of space to put them at the moment, as they have to go on public accessible land for free trees. But we are still looking to replenish existing hedges, and maybe plant new ones if we can work out where to put them. We will plant 500 new trees. We've planted this last year. We worked with our tree surgeon Mercer, and they planted 15 very large trees around the village. And the parish council agreed to a 3-year maintenance project for those trees, because they will need, and they did this summer, need watering weekly, masses of water. And luckily the parish council agreed to fund that maintenance. Otherwise, I think we would have lost those trees. It's always something to consider, that when you plant, you have to maintain as well. A new wildflower meadow we would love to plant. We haven't really got the site for that at the moment. We are thinking of patches of meadow, like large patches of meadow on Brewery Field, that we will plant up maybe with plug plants. I have the money in Friends of Duxford Green Spaces I can use for that, and I will apply for grants as well. On a new idea, which it's not on this slide, is on Brewery Field I have a mound next to the pond. And when we created the mound, the builders brought in a lot of chalk and also some topsoil to make the mound bigger. In hindsight, we should have kept the chalk face on the south side, because then we are so chalky here. We would have had a lovely chalk south-facing mound. I'm going to try and get some money to scrape the topsoil off that side of the mound and put it at the back of the mound, so that we do have a nice chalk face on the mound. We want to put new swift and house martin boxes and lots of bird and bat boxes up. And any specific projects or ideas that neighbours come up with. This slide, this map was drawn up by Jean Kelly from Hildersham. And she wrote to every parish in South Cambs in 2023-24 and coded this map. There's no key on this slide, but I will put it in the notes. The grey means she didn't get an answer. She was asking these questions, and the light green knows they're aware of a need, but they haven't finalised a plan yet. The mid green, they've got a plan, but they're only just starting on implementation. And the dark green means that we're advanced implementation, as we are in Duxford. The grey doesn't mean they've done nothing. It just means we don't have any information. But the idea of this toolkit and this nature recovery programme is that we will have a full picture of all the councils. And as Ian says, just start and the magic will happen. It wasn't Ian. If you brew your own cauldron, magic will surely happen. Dara McNulty. And he's put some links on here. I will share this, obviously, the links, and I will also put the link to Duxford's Nature Network on. Lessons learned so far. It might seem a bit daunting to start with, especially when you start thinking of how I'm going to map it and keep all this information. But the people that are experts in it will help. And with the strategy template provided, it makes it a lot easier. If you talk to as many people as you can, your businesses, your parishioners, your councillors, your friends, and try to create a nature network in some way, then people will become involved. Ian says, have a destination in mind. It's true. If you plan something and have a strategy, then it helps to focus on how to get there. Volunteers are key. You will have some, but in Duxford, there are a lot of people that are keen to help, but the young people have jobs and families, and a lot of the older people are getting very old now and don't have the energy or necessarily the enthusiasm for some hard work outside. But there's always something people can do, even if they're just good at the techie stuff. I mean, do the parish online work, things like that. The chances to get grants are very good. It can be a bit of a faff and quite onerous applying for money, but once you've done it a couple of times, you've got the words for the next one, basically. And there is an awful lot of money out there in the form of green grants. Often on public land, it's more easy, because if the parish council own the land, it'll be much easier to get approval. Then you don't have to jump through any hoops because it's yours. It's been a joy to work with Ian on this, and Heather as well, who's doing a lot with the school. I think our something I wanted to show you here. This is from the Nature Recovery Toolkit. This is an evolving document. It's not our document, it's County's document. And the Natural Cambridgeshire Toolkit. And this is some areas that they've put in. So decide your objective, develop a nature recovery map, develop a timeline, a plan for maintenance, what's next. And this is all part of Natural Cambridgeshire. This is a great document. There's a lot of information in there on different areas, how to look at different initiatives to increase biodiversity in those areas. I just can't emphasize enough. I mean, I hope I haven't overloaded you, because there's so much information out there. But I'll stop sharing my screen now if I can work out how to do it. Stop sharing. Yeah, I hope I haven't overloaded you, and I'm sorry about my voice. I just wanted to try and get as much information across. And the Parish Online map I can talk about in more detail, but I just thought I'd cover the main subjects. Any questions?
That's really great, Gillian. Thank you so much, because I found it very interesting that we have magic connections between your 10 lessons learned, or things that you really found out. We started a nature recovery or system in Somerset, so the opposite side of the country from you, and have found exactly the same things, that once you get started with a couple of volunteers, then they all start coming out of the woodwork. If you get the school children involved, then the whole enthusiasm level jumps to a whole new high. And as you say, they go back and badger their parents into turning the garden into a wildlife area, or making a corridor for the hedgehogs, or whatever it happens to be. So it does all pick up a momentum of its own. So very encouraging to hear that you Easterners are just as good as the Southwesterners. So well done. But thank you very much. I love the Natural Cambridgeshire list of the toolkit. I'll be putting that onto the knowledge base, because it's clearly going to be helpful to a lot of people. And I see there's a whole string of questions, so why don't we start going with them? David, would you like to start, please?
Yes, okay. Yeah, so many things, but what I've got are two questions about communication. First one is really technical. I notice you show that the website where people could sign up and register their gardens. What software are you using for the websites?
We are using WordPress. I don't yet have the ability for people to sign up on the website. I've asked them when they want to sign up to email me.
All right. So emails, or suppose you could also use something like a Google form. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I mean,
Um,
ideally, I want a website where they can go in, say, I want to sign up my garden and tick the boxes on the website, and that will go directly into my database. But I am nowhere near that yet.
all right. And the other one is more human side. How do you recruit volunteers?
Word of mouth. I have my group, Friends of Duxford Green Spaces. I have about 38 members. Duxford has 2,000 people in the village, about 800 households. And of those 38 members, there are 4 who regularly volunteer for me. I've just seen how dark I look. I'm sorry, I look like I'm sitting in the dark. The sun was coming in. Maybe it's a bit better. And I find it really difficult. I have luckily a very helpful husband who gets roped into doing an awful lot with me. And we've got the company who give us people. And I've got 2 or 3 counsellors who help, but they can't help every time because they've got jobs as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's tricky. It's tricky. I do find for Brewery Field, my community green space, the people that really are willing to help are the people that live in the street next door because it's in their own interest. Mm. They're looking at that site all the time.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Sorry, let's move on to Stuart, please.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to thank Gillian for obviously an amazing effort. I think every parish should be looking to you as a guiding light. Fantastic. I was just wondering, along the sort of BNG sort of lines, have you got any sort of baseline measurements before you embarked on this? And are you in any way tracking the changes which you hope you've made?
We are probably doing that more now. We've got Grace involved. I certainly do have a record for my community green space on Brewery Field because Ashley Arbon, who's the ecologist in Whittlesford, who helped me, he was on board right from the word go, and he did a biodiversity study when it was still a farmer's field for me. And he does regular studies for me now, surveys, I should say, and he keeps a record of those. And that's another thing I would like to put on the website. I always ask people to send their sightings. I have a Facebook page. I ask people to photograph anything they see and send me a sighting. And if they do that, I keep records of it. But Brewery Field is regularly monitored, and we will definitely have a progression chart for that at some point in the future. There are other public areas in the village, such as the Big Inn and the allotments even. And I think they are being surveyed now, but they weren't in the past. So we will, going forward, have a record of all the public areas in the village. And I think the Duxford Nature Network, the gardens and the wildlife corridors I'm trying to link up, will be another measure, although very difficult to quantify.
Yeah, I think it's always good for volunteers to see the results of their work and get some feedback.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way to encouraging other people to get involved if they can actually see that they're making a difference.
And that's very true. But I do have, I mean, every time I'm on Brewery Field working, people stop me and say, this is the most amazing thing. We can't believe how much it's changed. It was a farmer's field in 2017.
Yeah.
And now and everybody's and there's a huge amount of dogs on there, and people have put fish in the pond. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's still improving every year and evolving every year.
Great. Thanks.
Frank, please.
Thanks very much. And excellent, Gillian. Really interesting to see how you pulled the network together. And I think it's tremendous. And having that template strategy that you're working against makes so much sense. It's really just sharing a couple of things that we do up here as a group on the Verge that tries to pollinator patches. And we started off doing in all the primary schools and the high schools. What we found as well, because again, volunteers are hard to come by, we've worked with the two local councils' community justice teams. So if people need to serve a community justice order doing X number of hours work, they may end up deturfing and rotivating a space in a school playground that we can then sow with the pupils. So the heavy lifting is done by people as a semi-voluntary basis. But it means you don't need to quite the same level of volunteers to work the primary school. I think that's worked very well for us. So if you're not doing that, it's maybe something that's worth looking at if you've got a friendly local community justice team. And the other one we're in terms of trying to convert areas to meadows, wide areas to meadows, as well as plug plants. Plug plants we found, unless you clear quite a big donor site, tend to get swamped. But I'm off tomorrow to do some preparation for sowing yellow rattle.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we do mattocks and scarifying rakes to create 6-inch squares per square meter in the planned site, and then sow the yellow rattle this time of year. It stratifies over winter, and hopefully in a year's time you're then able to put in other wildflowers and gain the benefits then. But I mean, each local area will have its own way of doing things, and the stuff that you've done sounds tremendous. So well done you. The one you've not mentioned, and maybe it's just not a big an issue for you, invasive non-natives. Do you have much of a challenge with that? Because that's one of when we look at nature networks, one of the things we're acutely conscious of is that our rivers are wonderful nature networks, but they're also networks for Himalayan balsam and skunk cabbage and giant hogweed. So it's that double-edged sword that you're encouraging the good stuff, but trying to work out how you can eliminate the bad.
Yeah, we've got Himalayan balsam all along the river. We have up the road in Hinxton, we have the Wellcome Trust, and they manage their land very well for biodiversity. And we are liaising with them now to remove the Himalayan balsam. We get it removed by our contractor on the small area, which is known as the Biggin, which has a river frontage. But it's just a small area. We need it, and the Wellcome Trust are on board with that, and they're going to pick up on that and run with it. The community justice, when you said it, I remembered one of our councillors did use a team of them to plant some trees about 5 years ago. So I've made a note of that to remember that again, because it's the heavy work sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just...
And for them, it's a more fulfilling thing than just doing litter picks or graffiti removal. So
absolutely,
it can work very well.
And the yellow rattle, you're quite right. I had a success on Brewery Field with yellow rattle because I bought some seed and I literally just got a garden rake and scraped it so that you could see the
earth, yeah.
See the earth underneath. We're very, very dry in Duxford. We have our own microclimate. We hardly have any rain. And it was successful, and it reseeded itself the following year.
Well, that's what we find now. We've got donor sites we can go to collect yellow rattle seed to try and do other fresh sites. So if you get that virtuous circle going, it's really great. And the last one, I think, I love the idea of people contributing their gardens and mapping it. But we're trying to do something not that dissimilar up here. We're encourage people to use things like iNaturalist and the RSPB Big Garden Birdwatch and Butterfly Count to get people thinking about tracking and then equally recording some of those things locally, success stories to publicize and promote.
Yes, that's a good idea. In fact, I must put links to them on the website. And I do always put a link on the Facebook page, when in the butterfly count's coming up or the big bird count, because it would be nice to map into that data as well. It's a really good idea.
But it's tremendous. And there's lots of things I'm taking away from the presentation that so useful for us. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Well done. Now, Graham, I should ask myself to ask your question. Gillian, you mentioned building the mound and then sorry that you didn't make the south face of it more in chalk. Is there a specific purpose behind the mound?
No, the mound started off as the spoil from the pond.
Yes.
And we always wanted a chalk mound because it's apparently a very, very important habitat for a lot of butterflies. And we hit chalk when you dig in Duxford. You hit chalk when you get to 18 inches 2 feet, almost solid chalk. So we thought this is going to be great. We're going to have, but then when we dug the pond, even though it's quite a big pond, we had this sort of very slight hill. It wasn't really a mound at all. And so we asked the builder who was helping us to build it. He said, well, I've got a lot of things. He said, I can just bring more stuff in from jobs I'm doing. And initially it was more chalk and it was getting a nice big, but then topsoil came in. And the topsoil, I wasn't around at that time. And unfortunately, the topsoil ended up being put on top of the chalk, and it really should have been put at the back to allow the chalk face to be in the sun. One of the things we're going to do, there's a project where they've created big capital letter E's. So the three legs are facing the sun. So you've got different shade and for different times of day, and apparently that's very, very good for butterfly. I think I'll try and find it and I'll put a link. I think it was on the big it's the butterfly conservation group that have that. It's quite interesting because you get different plants growing and you get different butterflies on each face. I'm going to try and get some. It's going to be expensive, and also I've got to do it at the right time of year because I don't want the diggers churning up my community green space.
We put 2 ponds into the space I'm working with in Somerset, and I just wondered if there was anything specific about the mounds that you found was particularly useful. But the idea of having separate faces towards the sun sounds like a good one. The letter E, that's a great idea.
I think that's a really good idea. The other good thing about a mound next to a pond is when you're building it, you can build a hibernaculum in the base of it, or lots of hibernacula, which I built them with pallets and old bits of concrete and old flower pots, and you can use even plastic broken pots and things. And they're wonderful places for the newts and the invertebrates to overwinter.
Agreed. Thank you very much. Paul, on to you, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just going to reiterate what a lot of everyone else said. Fantastic presentation and yeah, admirable work that's been done. So we're certainly going to be emulating that as much as we can and stealing as many good ideas and good stuff that you've done for Great Ellingham with little shame, but lots of recognition for you guys.
Very welcome. I've stolen quite a few ideas myself. So.
Unfortunately, I can't offer suggestions and what we've achieved like Frank was able to. And what the starting point on where we are with grading, we're fortunate we've got lots of community groups that are going on, and we've got allotment areas, and there's lots of people interested already in doing stuff. But one of the things that we're looking to do to be able to show value to the wider parish that maybe aren't so engaged, and that then they will be more supporting of the investment that we're looking to make, is really going to pick up on Stuart's point, is the starting metrics of where we are now, so that we can then monitor it to where we're going to be. And I don't know whether that's something that anybody on this call may be able to help with, but with regards to contacts for initial biodiversity surveys, because that's where we're looking to get engaged now, is to find out where we are from a BNG point of view, and then it's something that we can then monitor on an annual basis to show that the work that we're going to put in planning is always giving value back to the parish and being successful.
I think I could ask, I will ask Ashley, who I speak to on a regular basis, because he may well know ecologists in your area that would be happy to help.
That'd be fantastic.
And
That'd be fantastic.
I can also ask Grace, who's in Duxford.
That'd be great, and I think that for the great collaboration as well is I think that if there's a network, people know people that do a similar kind of job. Maybe if we could sort of create a kind of directory, as hopefully more people will join in from other areas and
Yeah,
make it more accessible. Because I think it's great that we can that we can monitor what is being achieved. We're certainly hoping that as a parish, people will be engaged. Hedgerows definitely is something which I'm looking at with land as well to establish a lot more hedgerows. We're already engaged in the free bits, the no mow maze, and monitoring that. So we're doing all the free bits. We're now getting to the point where we've got to spend a bit of money. So we've got to make sure that we can evidence to the wider parish that it's a good thing to be doing and effective. So
I think that's the way forward, definitely. And it may be that you might have to pay for a biodiversity survey.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it would be worth it if you do. But in my experience, ecologists that see how important this is and how enthusiastic people are. I haven't paid for a biodiversity survey. I've been so lucky with the help I've had. But if you do have to, it's worth it.
Yeah, we've got the pre-approval. So there was a vote taken in the last parish council meeting, and the principle of it has been voted on in favour. I've just got to get a quote, if applicable, put in front of people to then sign off on the amount of money, and then hopefully will be all systems go, and we can do lots of things like plant some more mature trees. And I love the green area mapping on that. I think that's such a fantastic idea. Almost making it like a gamification version of success for people to really sort of take over. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So that idea has definitely been made a note of, and yeah, expect it to be stolen sometime soon if all goes well.
I'm so pleased you all enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you for all the compliments.
That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Frank, you have another thought?
We're in the very early stages of doing this, but we're hoping to work with our local universities and colleges to either look at ecological groups or courses, particularly that are doing green courses or ecology, to see if we can get students to do some of the biodiversity surveys. Because it gives them a live test bed to work on and learn from. And obviously it gives us access to resource because they'll be supervised by their lecturers. So there could be a kind of win-win there. So it'll very much be down to, do you have a college or university local to you that's running the appropriate courses? But that might be another source to look to see if you can get some help.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Let me just.
That is good advice, Frank. Actually, that's we've got Easton College near us, just on the outskirts of Norwich, and that's actually where I'm going to this afternoon to do exactly that. So, yeah, I'm on your wavelength, Frank. Thank you.
Let me share my screen if I will. I just want to show you something that we're doing for the great collaboration. And bear with me a second. You'd think this was going to be straightforward, wouldn't you? Bear with me a second. I had to restart, reload a Mac the other day, and not everything's come back the way it should have done. There we go. Right, that should do it. No, I think I'm going to cheat and put a link in the chat, which everybody is very welcome to use. So what we're doing in that link, and by all means go into it now if you want to, is we've added a map to the knowledge base in which we're tracking everything that people are doing. And I thought that for Paul, people like you, if you're looking to build networks and you want to track who in your area is doing this stuff, you can do it with the map that we've got here. So if you go to the bit on the top left corner that says layers or whatever it says, let me just bear with me what it says.
Parish project.
Yes, but if you click on those, then you can select anything that you're interested in. So if you want to know who around you is building a community orchard, for instance, you can just click on that and they all show up. And the same for anything else. So any of the things that you're suggesting, Gillian, could go into here. And particularly if you find fellow-minded parishes around you, then they should go in here so that you can all help each other. And
That's
it's
really good.
just a matter of clicking on the map and seeing who around you is doing what you're looking to do.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well, I want to build on that. So the more that people can feed information back to me, then the more we can make this helpful, and the more it'll spread across the country in due course. But I hope it'll help you people who are putting networks together to actually get them to help each other by recording where they are and what they're doing.
That's really good.
And you can turn on as many layers at the same time as you wish, but it tends to get much too complicated. So we tend to turn off a layer and then turn on a layer, and off you go. And Kirsten, I've already triggered a question in you.
I'm sorry. I was just, and I might have missed this in the thread. Looking at this looks really great. Am I right in thinking that this is that if you enter things as Gillian has done in Parishes Online, it will feed straight through to this extra map, or are we having to put the data in twice?
At the moment, sorry, if it's in Parish Online, we can get it out into XMap, which is what this map is. But we probably need to link with you and with Geosphere, the people who make Parish Online, to make sure that you've given your permission for them to put your data in our map, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's easily done. It's extremely simple for them because it's all coming from the same database. But we just need to sort out the permissions so that when I say I want to see everything that Gillian's up to, they're going to say, whoa, hang on a minute, let's make sure we've got Gillian's permission to do that.
Makes sense. I was just trying to save us all repetitively putting things in.
It's technically very simple to do. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's just a question of the permissions. So great question. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything else they want to cover, please? Okay, good. Well, Gillian, that was a masterpiece. Thank you so much particularly for pitching in at short notice without Ian, which was largely a problem of my making. So thank you very much for that. Next week, we're going to be talking about water. So those of you who want to know why water is important, or how you can preserve it, how you can clean it, how you can look after it, the next week is going to show you all of that, coming from the Gloucester area, Forest of Dean. So I hope you'll find that very interesting. So thank you all very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it and look forward to seeing you again. And of course, we will publish everything that you've been seeing today. It'll all come up online and you can get hold of it and download it as you wish. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. Thank you.